What's up, guys? My name is Peter Lymberopolos, based here in Dallas, Texas, real estate wholesaler, investor, and flipper. I've been wholesaling real estate for almost 2 years now. Wanted to document what a journey looks like to completely start from zero. 135 days, we made a little bit over 120 grand wholesaling real estate, chasing that 100 grand milestone. It's been awesome, ups and downs, ebbs and flows, showing people what it looks like to work completely free outbound marketing, targeting pre-foreclosure leads, very low barrier to entry from door knocking, cold calling, text blasting, with the hope to inspire somebody that was on the fence about getting into it, just like I was a couple years ago. So if you haven't watched the challenge, you can check out the full thing right here. In this video, we're gonna be wrapping up just a bunch of common questions, going over certain things that went on in the challenge, diving a little bit deeper into some of the deals and some of the exit strategies, mindset, conversations we had, etc. Even though it took 135 days to make 120 grand, we still had 11 deals in the pipeline that either have closed, have been terminated, or are still pending closing. So I feel like at the very start of the challenge, I had people almost in the DMs asking if I was sandbagging this challenge, which was hilarious. We started out on absolute fire the first week, 3 contracts in the first 6 days, which is one of the hottest weeks I've had in wholesaling, so it was nice to start the challenge out that way. Unfortunately, 2 of the deals fell through rather quickly, which was unfortunate, but 6 days into the challenge, we got the first deal that would end up closing for us, Kushla. Now, if you watched the video, awesome. If not, I'll catch you up to speed. This was a pre-foreclosure. It had an auction date that was like 2 or 3 weeks away at the time. Let me take it back even further. Pulled the data directly off of the county list to find the address, the auction date, put it in a route organizer, drove out to the house, knocked on the door, talked to the husband and wife who were both there at the same time, spoke a little face-to-face. Hey, here's the situation, here's what's going on. We help walk homeowners through their options, and we do have a real estate department as well, because that's a lot of what the pitch is walking people through their options, but also showing them that, hey, I can help you get out from under this debt if it is what's causing problems. That's the direction our conversation went. I was able to make an offer that made sense to them at the time, lock it up to an end buyer. I think it was like a $15,000, $20,000 assignment to begin with. We had to up the sales price with the seller because of a payoff amount that came back a little higher, which was unfortunate, but we wanted to make sure the sellers were in a good position. My favorite thing about this deal, and I love talking about it, is because it's a great example of how working these pre-foreclosure leads can give you the opportunity to be unique in different situations. These people are getting bombarded. People are coming to their house, they're calling their phones, they're texting them, all offering really the same service at the end of the day, or the same outcome, where you can differentiate yourself as finding those little things, those pain points that aren't recognized with most wholesalers that are just trying to make a quick buck, right? Which is okay, everybody's got to feed their family. But the cool thing about this deal is when we were talking, a lot of their holdup and their rejection to want to sell was actually moving, because they didn't have a working car at all. They had one that was just parked stationary out front because it didn't have a working alternator. Alternator cost me like, I think it was like $200 or $300 to get him a used one at AutoZone. So when we were locking up the deal, I promised him, hey, if we work together, I'll get you a new alternator. I'll bring it by the day of closing, help you out, whatever it is you guys need to get on your way. And to them, that was honestly more important than just getting the money for the house, is making sure they had somewhere to go and just weren't out on the curb the day of the foreclosure. That's the cool part about pre-foreclosures, is attack it from the angle of, hey, how can I be unique with all of these people reaching out to this very same family that's going through probably one of, if not the worst situation they will probably ever go to. Come from a perspective of service, and you'll watch yourself be blessed financially because of it, but also just because it's the right thing to do. These people were at a very low moment in their life. Attack that with sensitivity and uniqueness to help put people in a better boat. Into our Dallas condo deal. Usually, especially working pre-foreclosures, the craziness with getting these deals to the closing table, which is why a lot of the times the closing percentage is fairly low for pre-foreclosure deals. I think all time I sit around like a 40-50% close rate, which is definitely one of my weaknesses, is the seller side. This was really my first experience of working with a difficult buyer. Stalled a couple times coming to the closing table, going over documents and funding. He was out of the country. It was a mess. It almost gives me a headache bringing it back up. That's to say, you want to make sure that the buyers you're working with, you vet them, you trust them, you know they're cash, or you at least know if they're using funding. Whatever it is, it's important to talk in depth with your buyers about what their plan is and anything they might need prior to closing. So that was a little bit of a learning experience with that one there. I was really worried we were gonna lose the deal for the seller, which would have made me feel just like a piece of crap. But it all worked out in the end. Got it closed, got it funded. Buyer got a good sub too. We got paid a little assignment fee. The seller walked away, money in his pocket, out from under the foreclosure, out from under the debt, just like he was hoping.
It's time for Bridgeport. You don't see it.
Bridgeport. Absolute roller coaster. Crazy ride. It was an out-of-state seller. They lived in New Jersey. So knocked that door, left a note on the door, marked it off my list, just, hey, this house is vacant. There's no sign of life. Don't come back to it all. Maybe a week and a half later, I get a call from the son. He's like, hey man, like my dad's in a tough spot. We're really close to this foreclosure. And I think it was like 7 to 10 days away from the auction. Wrapped the deal up cash. At first he was not wanting to sell. There really weren't any other options. So we got to that point where it made sense. They talked about it as a family, called me back later that night, wrapped up the deal. But the craziness was getting it closed. So getting everything squared away like 7 days before the auction, really hard to be able to close that fast, even if you are just wholesaling or buying something cash, is even just like turning around a title commitment that fast. So we crutched on a TRO, which is a temporary restraining order, to essentially sue the bank to push off that auction date just to give us enough time to close. There was some crazy, I don't remember exactly what was going on that held that up, but with all the TRO filing, there's a super specific way it needs to get done. We were having to get paperwork notarized in New Jersey and sent back to us to get it all done. It was craziness. The real wild part of it all is we thought we did everything to get the auction delayed in time, which we did, but the trustee, which is the attorney that was responsible for the sale, called us like 2 or 3 hours after the sale or sent us an email. It was like, hey, like unfortunately, yeah, the house was sold. You didn't get everything done in time. And we were just like, oh my God. Like, we just completely screwed this seller. Like, we told him, which granted, he waited till a week before the sale to do anything, but we got all the way down to this last point, told him we were trying to help him. We were paying thousands of dollars in attorney fees and TROs and retainers just to get the thing filed. The same attorney calls us back like 30 minutes later. He's like, hey, we switched up the addresses, like you guys did get the filing done in time. And I was like, holy moly, thank goodness. At that time, we already had the deal assigned for $27,500. Thought we lost it, and I'm not gonna lie, I was crashing out, bro. And you guys have seen a couple of crash outs on these videos. I'm gonna make more money one day and forget about this deal and forget about it all. Holy stoic moment. Fuck this deal. But it was crazy news once we got the call back from the attorney that they mixed up the files. From there, pretty smooth sailing, got it closed a week or two later whenever the buyer was ready and all the smoke had kind of settled with them being able to get everything out of the house. So that was an awesome, almost $30,000 deal that was this close to slipping through our fingers, but we saved it. This was definitely like where we started to kind of lull a little bit after the Bridgeport closing on day 54 up until our next closing on day 102. It's kind of a couple of different things to this. I just had a lot going on personally, like you'll see in some of the videos, had some weddings pop up, some funerals, unfortunately. That's the reason I'm so blessed to be doing what I'm doing in wholesaling real estate, is it gives me the flexibility to be there for family or friends or personal events, whatever that kind of stuff comes up. So naturally, when you take the foot off the gas acquisitions wise, you see that in pay. It really is an eat what you kill industry when you're wholesaling real estate, and that's an important thing for anybody to understand about it. But the other part is also just juggling the pipeline. That Westwood Way one is an ovation, like that just takes more time naturally to be able to close because you're bringing in a retail buyer. So, right, that's the ups and downs as we go from day 54 to 102, I believe, of dryness until we close the deal day 102. But then the pipeline starts hitting and we close day 102, day 109, day 111, and all of a sudden we're going from just shy of 42 grand on the challenge to I think it's just a bit over 80 grand. So between that segment, when you obviously shrink it all down to like a week by week or day by day pay basis, it's awesome. But when you're going, 50 days or whatever it is without seeing a paycheck hit, you're kind of like, and what am I doing? Rent's due, like all this other stuff. So that's the tough part about wholesaling. But if you can stick it out and you can weather kind of the storm or the uncertainty with some of that and keep that foot on the gas acquisition-wise, so when you see the big paydays. So Humber, it's a crazy one. Not crazy because of any there was some drama with it for sure, but it wasn't a pre-foreclosure. Actually, this was just a cold outbound text I had done. We had an AI chatbot reach out to the seller, which was wild. They reached out about a property. The seller responded, "Hey, I'm not interested. Thank you," or whatever. And he said, and our chatbot just said, "Okay, cool. Let me know if anything changes." Hit him up the next day and was just like, "Hey, just double checking with you. You're still good." And the seller actually responded with, "Well, the property next door, we're in the middle of inheriting because my father just passed away." And it was a complete wreck, right? Kind of ideal for distressed real estate, wholesaling, everything like that, probate combination. So got on the phone immediately with the seller because the chatbot was kind of qualifying the lead. Hey, when are you looking to get something done? What are you hoping to get for it? What kind of shape is it in? Once he kind of texted back with "Hey, here's the price I would be hoping for," the immediate comps I looked at, even basing for just total repair value, I was like, let me call this guy immediately. Called him, set up an appointment at the house with him and his sister the next day, locked it up from there. I think it's just, everybody talks about how AI is going to take away every single job possible. I think that's why getting into business, and especially something with so much sales acumen where you're so people forward, is going to be something that's never going away. It's because people want to work with people and people want to work with people they like. But finding ways to leverage AI at the same time to do almost some of the dirtier grunt work, where you're not sitting there texting back sellers the same questions all day when you're sending out 1,000, 2,000 texts a day. Building that system to be able to automate it all, filter the right leads where you're just calling those ones directly. I mean, that's something that saved us a bunch of time. It was frankly one of the easier deals acquisition-wise I've ever done. If you want to see what my AI chatbot looks like or just how we built that system, I'll put it in the description here if anybody is interested to check it out. But finding ways to incorporate AI into this business is where I see the next wave of everything going. So it was cool to just get some proof of concept there on a deal. Westwood Way, and that's gonna be the last time I say it. Novation deal, pre-foreclosure, divorce combo. A lot of the times there's not only just one thing going on, right? It's not always just the bank causing issues. Sometimes it's relationships, it's inheritance, it's a bunch of moving parts. Got in contact with the seller very close to the auction. I think it was the week before the auction as well. Whenever we're that close to the auction, I'll try to leverage a cash deal as much as I possibly can, just because the urgency is there. There's not a ton of other options, but with her payoff, it didn't necessarily make sense. And the house was in decent enough shape to sell on the market, obviously just at a discount. So we went the novation route, got the contract and everything signed with the ex-husband as well, who was living elsewhere. So luckily he was super cooperative, which made it easy. But again, our buyer was a real booger on this one. It was an agent that was buying it for herself. And frankly, she just was pretty difficult to deal with. But we ended up getting it all wrapped up and all good from there. So Hollow Circle, this was actually a JV deal. My boy Nate brought me, shout out Nate, Dallas Homes for Cash, baby. But this is the awesome part too, is as you become more and more experienced wholesaling, have more deals under your belt, more sales acumen, partnering with people becomes very powerful. So with that being said, with people that are either looking for help with dispositions or looking for help just getting deals under contract and working with sellers directly, I've got a whole helpline for that. If you need any help, feel free to shoot me a DM, check out the link in the description. Always happy to help. Everybody makes money. We all break bread here. Dwayne Street. This was just one of the crazier and honestly most wholesome interactions I've ever had wholesaling. Got this deal locked up in a just very strange way from the get-go. Connected with the seller on a cold call. And he was talking about how he already had somebody else helping him out. I just encouraged him to look them up. I was like, okay, cool, do whatever you need to do. Here's a little bit of the ways I can help. Maybe let's set up a call for tomorrow, whatever. And he was against it, actually. So I just sent him some of my information and was gonna follow up with him. Text me back later that night and it's like, hey man, I looked up these people online or on the BBB or whatever it was he looked them up on, and he was like, and they've got a terrible record, like, let's talk. Hopped on the phone, talked to him for an hour or two. Honestly, just super sad situation with a retired veteran who was just an amputee. Wife just ran out on him for another woman. Like, there was just so much crazy stuff going on with this guy. Got it locked up. I honestly thought it was gonna be too tight of a deal to even work with from the get-go. The very next day, he calls me and it's like 8:30 in the morning, just like literally like on the edge of like is talking to me, and we talked a little bit about our faith the night before. Gosh, it's so crazy to talk about everything he's been through, and he's like, man, like I haven't had anybody to talk to about any of the stuff I was telling you about last night, and talks about how he just can't see a way through, like can't see the light at the end of the tunnel with all this being wrapped up. Like, he's obviously being threatened with homelessness and just losing his property, and it was a mess, man. So I talked to him for, I think it was from like 8:30 to 10:30, just while he's in tears, just about faith, and ultimately talking him off that ledge and painting the picture about like, hey, this is what it's gonna look like when all of this is done for you, and like what your new life is gonna look like. So ultimately, I mean, we got him moved in with his pastor, he's got help, like all this stuff. He's in a much better situation today, but it just goes to show that like it's not for the faint of heart. Like, if you can't have uncomfortable conversations, it's very hard to talk to people at their very lowest moment. Because I mean, who knows? I could have just picked up the phone and been like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, I'm sorry you're going through that, and just been like, well, you know, talk to you tomorrow, and who knows what would happen, right? So definitely one of my favorite deals, just because of this, you know, how much different of a situation this all put him in, to where he's got help, he's got the money from the house, wasn't ruining his record with the foreclosure. We were helping him get there, and it ended up being a much nicer deal than I thought from the get-go. I thought we might have had a little bit of trouble moving it all together. Ended up being a little bit over a $40,000 assignment fee, so it was well worth playing therapist and helping the guy out with all the moving parts we did. So really, that's kind of the key to some of these bigger deals, is going above and beyond and doing a lot of things that people wouldn't do to get a deal, to end up getting deals that are more profitable altogether, and just feeling good about it. I mean, obviously it was awesome that I got paid what I got paid, but putting a person in a better spot, like ultimately that's what kind of keeps your clock ticking in an industry like this. Other fun fact about day 135 is we actually closed another deal that day, but it was a wholesale, right? So a wholesale, we buy the deal, put it up on the market, or just put it up for further marketing and then close later, right? So the whole point was to see how long it took us to get to $100,000. That took 135 days. Cool thing is we still had 11 deals in the pipeline that either have closed, have been terminated, or are still pending closing. So we've closed 5 more. We've got 3 more that are still pending, and 3 more that have been terminated, unfortunately. The first one we'll talk about is on Rice Drive, because we actually bought that one on day 135 of the challenge. Pretty easy process from there. Seller had a little lease back to be able to get everything out of the house. From there, we just wholesaled it. We probably should have just wholesaled it to begin with. I don't know why we would have. So after that 135 day mark, this was the first next deal we had closed. Ended up being like barely over $20,000, $20,039.21. So that was an awesome one to keep going. So like I said, we've got 3 that have been terminated, unfortunately. Diamondback, Valley Tree, and Hidden Pine had all been terminated. Really just some of those novations didn't make sense, payoffs came out too high, yada yada. We don't want to focus on the negative here. We're not negative people. We're not going to do that. We're going to focus on the positive, the pending, and the deals we've already had closed. Segueing us into the pending deals, we've got Grenadier, Ore Road, and Hondo Avenue. Ore and Hondo are the 2 JV deals we did. We did Mosswood as well, but it is closed now. So Grenadier, absolute nightmare. We've been working on this freaking tax lien for I don't know how long. Actually kind of crazy because we're filming this on a Sunday, but On Friday, it just appeared with a new auction date. The lien release process to get these tax liens discharged takes 45 to 60 days. With the government shutdown, it's thrown a wrench and everything, and they've had these documents for almost 4 months now and they still haven't done anything. So I've been leaving some probably way too aggressive voicemails with the IRS. So if the IRS lady in Oklahoma City is seeing this, hurry up, please. Hondo Avenue, that one actually unfortunately also has an auction date. It's been on the market for somewhere between 4 or 5 months right now. The area has taken a crazy hit. It's one of the older townhomes in a just super gentrified area here in Dallas. So we're doing everything we can to get that sold. We've got our fingers crossed that hopefully we have an interested party that hopefully is making an offer this week. We were further under contract a month or two ago, and that fell through. So we're hoping something else comes through hopefully this week right after we film this. And then Orr Road, that property is listed. Kind of crazy scenario with the seller getting paid out on like a multi-million-dollar commission from an oil funding deal. So his intentions are to just pay us out of the deal, like our $75,000 fee, and just kind of being done with it. Kind of just waiting on his commission and funding and everything to come in, which has been going on for a while. So hopefully that is actually the case. But let's talk about the great ones now, right? The ones that we've actually closed. So we'll start with Mosswood. Absolute killer deal. Shout out our agent, Adam Moore, on that, because he completely kind of clutched that over to the closing table. JV foreclosure, we helped her up front get money to get relocated, listed it on the market, and just took a portion of that sales price there. Ended up making just shy of $40,000 on that. The total profit came out to $39,359.61. Just a bunch of moving parts getting it to the closing table with repair requests, buyers wanting to back out, us fronting repairs to be able to make it work. I'll highlight on this real quick. A lot of the times with these novations, JVs, whatever it is, when it's not just cash wholesales, it can be tougher for beginners to get into because sometimes there's some capital that has to go into it. Even when we do things like TROs or other filings to be able to stop foreclosures. That's why it's important if you get to a point where some of these are still deals, and not just deals, but like $40,000 deals, like these are great deals. Partnering with people that have more experience and can help with some of that, whether it's fronting repairs or whatever it is in these certain deal structures, can be so powerful. So don't let a deal slip through just because you don't have, the couple grand it takes to pay for a TRO or to fix X, Y, and Z, right? Find somebody who does, save your deal, maybe make a little bit less money, but it's worth it. Burton Avenue. That one was pretty straightforward, was just kind of waiting for that one to close. Cash wholesale deal, ended up being a $7,000 assignment. Pretty easy one, honestly. No crazy stories or anything. Same with Sheridan. That was just a pretty easy cash deal to close that we were just waiting on, buyer to get ready, title work come in, everything like that. That ended up being a $10,000 deal. But on to Jocelyn Way. This might be kind of the star of the show. This was the flip we closed towards the end of the challenge. Shout out our contractors, Oleo Builders, that did the work. Adam Moore, again, who listed the property. Just an awesome deal all around. Total profit on the flip ended up being $76,431.84. Got that deal just straight from door knocking on the guy's door. In pre-foreclosure, unfortunately, his company that he'd been with for forever let him off or let him go, and he just didn't have the money to keep up with the house anymore, wanted to move into an apartment, downsize because he was getting older, and just have some money to be able to, have in the bank for when a rainy day came. Made perfect sense for him. He made a good chunk of money. We made a good chunk of money flipping the property. Everybody wins. He's in a better spot. We had a flip under our belt. From those 5 deals, $152,830.66 of more profit, bringing the total as it stands today before these 3 pending deals have closed, if they close obviously, to $273,297.01. All from 135 days of nose to the grindstone, hard work, starting from scratch. Obviously some of them have closed after the 135 days, but it goes to show you take a couple to a few months, really duck your head into something you can commit to, coming out with almost $275,000 will make it worth some of the roller coasters and heartaches we've talked about in some of these crazy deals. It helped a lot of people get into a better situation. Obviously made good money, had a lot of fun doing it, had a ton of fun documenting it, and I sure as hell hope you had some fun watching it. Hopefully this challenge inspired somebody, because what I needed when I was getting into this was somebody to push me over the line, push me over the fence to be able to jump into it all in. I hope somebody out there has learned maybe what wholesaling is, how you can do it from scratch, how you don't need a ton of capital to get into it. With that being said, I'd love to talk to you about it. I'd love to help you through the journey or just be a resource in any way I can. My DMs are open. In the description, I'll have my JV link to all the systems I use, just that way you can get hands-on with whatever it is you need to maybe get started. Do one-on-one calls, whatever it is that you think I might be of value. I might not be of value at all. I'll let you decide that from watching the challenge. But if you think I could help, don't be a stranger.